Welcome back, folks. So I have Chris Eby joining me, and he is the president, broker, and owner of Buyers Resource Real Estate. So
right.
Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Now, I understand Buyers Resource, it's pretty unique. It's considerably different from many other sort of real estate agencies out there. Can you kind of describe what sets it apart?
It is. It's Buyers Resource is an exclusive buyer brokerage. Mm-hmm. So all we do is work for buyers. We don't take listings.
Okay, but yeah, that's unusual.
It is unusual. So our objective is to be the buyer's advocate, point man, to always represent the buyer's best interest.
Okay. So, and how long have you have you always not taken listings, or?
No, when I started in the real estate business in Summit County in the late 70s, I was in a traditional brokerage. Mm-hmm. And at that time, all licensees in Colorado represented the seller.
Oh.
So as I did that for several years, I got more and more uncomfortable with the fact that on one side of the deal, you're listing properties for the seller and you have a contract with them. Then on the other side of the deal, you're working with these buyers who are kind of depending on you and thinking that you are helping them to get the best deal. But legally, that wasn't the case. Mm-hmm. So I saw this real conflict there, and so eventually it just was something I couldn't live with anymore consciously. So I got out of the business for a little while. And then back in the mid-'80s, the whole concept, the whole idea of buyer representation started to evolve, and it was just a hand-in-glove fit for me. It was perfect.
Yeah, so it sounds like you saw that there was a need for basically more support for the buyer, and then you also wanted to feel good about what you were providing.
Yeah,
right?
It helped me sleep better at night.
So now, what are the benefits of this type of estate brokerage for buyers? Like, why would they want to seek working with you versus someone else?
Yeah, good question. So in Colorado, buyers have three choices. If they want to buy real estate, they can either hire an agent that is working for the seller. Mm-hmm. Well, that's probably not a good idea. I mean, agents that list properties for sellers enter into a contract with the seller. And I have yet to see one of those sellers say, listen, I want to make sure that the buyer gets the lowest price possible. That doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
So those agents are trying to get the seller the highest price. The other option is to work with an agent that is working for that buyer. So someone who is an advocate for a trusted fiduciary for that buyer, whose objective is to make sure the buyer gets the best deal. So those are the first two options. The third option in Colorado is that a buyer can engage a transaction broker, which really isn't an agent for either party.
Does your agency do that at all?
No.
Or strictly?
Yeah, we don't. So a transaction broker is effectively a facilitator, but he's not an advocate for either the buyer or the seller.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you find being strictly for the buyer, especially in an agency that's strictly for the buyer, do you kind of work differently as far as dealing with all these listings and contracts and whatnot?
Well, I mean, everything we do is aimed at making sure that the buyer and the buyer's interest is completely protected. Mm-hmm. So we are advocates for buyers. There's a lot of ways for buyers to get surprised in a real estate transaction. Mm-hmm. Real estate transactions these days are fairly complicated.
Yes.
There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of sub-ways to stub your toe.
Yes.
Buying real estate, whether it's a primary home or a resort property, is not something that real estate buyers do more than a handful of times in their life, perhaps. So this is something that they're not savvy about. So they need a trusted point man that can take them through the process, always making sure that their interests are paramount.
Sounds also very thorough. you know? Like, you're not just out there to make sure that you get a property sold or, you know, get the commission. You're making sure that your client is totally taken care of, because it's a big purchase.
It's a big deal. And you're right. You know, it's our objective isn't so much how many deals can we put together, how quickly can we get them through the process and to the finish line and to closing. Our deal is to make sure that our clients get the best property at the best price with the best terms. And one of our mission statements is to do everything we can to make sure that they don't have any surprises. Because that's the last thing that you want after you spend a lot of money.
So much money.
Yeah.
Quite a commitment. Now, for people out there that are getting ready to buy a home and they want to, you know, touch base with you and work with you, what's the best way of contacting you?
Well, it's pretty easy. The webpage is www.summit-realestate.com. But you can just Google Buyer's Resource, or if you just want to Google exclusive buyer agent, Summit County, we'll come up.
All right. Okay. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us this morning and letting us know what this actually really important resource for home buyers out there is, what's available to them.
Well, thank you.